Indonesia, when there's a cycling activity going on, there's also photographers on the streets, standing by, waiting to capture the cycling moment. These photographers usually selling the photos. But how does it work? How does the cyclist know where or how they can look and buy their photos? Ever since the pandemic began, cyclist photographers become more and more popular. It's all thanks to the fast growth of social media. With the limitation of social gathering during the pandemic, social media became the main spot for people who wanted to show what they have been doing. And what's the material to show and tell the stories? Of course, photos. Yes, cyclists can take pictures of themselves with their smartphone using selfie or other method. But it will be different to see a good and proper photo from a professional camera. As you may know already, pandemic affect a lot of photographers. And with the market of cyclist photography wide open to them, for sure they want to grab the opportunities together. Social media also become handy for the photographers. First, they shoot and then they edit the photos, put watermark in it for protection, and then upload it to cloud service. By providing a link to the cloud and share it through their social media, photographers can put a showcase of their photos. They usually categorize it by spot or places. Each photographer have their own favorite spot, so there's many to choose from. Also, because the photos are usually categorized by time, it became easier for the cyclist to look for the photos. Any cyclist who think they got their photos on that certain place during certain time can contact the photographers to ask for their photo. Photographers usually put their name on some kind of board in front of them so cyclists could recognize them while passing by and follow their social media later on. There are a lot of cyclist photographers on the street every morning. For example, if you took a ride in Dalkot, Jakarta, it will get you around 15 kilometers per lap. In one lap, you can find almost 15 to 20 photographers all selling photos from different angles. Each one of them have their own price list, but it's averaging around 100 to 150,000 rupiahs per photo. And for cyclists, they are willing to buy more than one photo every ride. With that process happens every day, no wonder cyclist photographer can earn more and more, make a living, enough for surviving through the pandemic time. Yes, there might be some competition between photographers, but everyone play fair and square. They respect each other. But talking about selling photos, who came with the idea? The idea of capturing and selling the cycling moment on public road. This is Bintaro Loop, located in the middle of Bintaro, Tangerang. Bintaro Loop is a smaller cycling route compared to Dalkot in the center of Jakarta. But because it's located in the middle of housing area, Bintaro Loop have its own characteristic and charm to the people living in the neighborhood of Bintaro. Its charm also attract the first cycling and sport photographer who came with the idea of selling photos to the cyclist. His name is Bayu, and he have an alias called Gue Jual Foto, which literally means I sell photo.
Kenapa bisa ada ide gitu kepikiran gitu buat jual foto olahraga?
Di 2017 gue ngeliat kan banyak teman-teman yang olahraga, sepeda atau lari. Mereka pasti ada pingin muncul di sosial media mereka dengan dokumentasi yang bagus dan proper. Seperti kita tahu, sosial media berkembang sangat pesat ya. Sekarang bahkan jadi tempat lokasi kita nyari pundi-pundi. Karena emang rumah gue deket Bintaro Loops ya, gue ngerasa lebih nyaman foto di Bintaro Loops. Mereka dekat sekali dengan kita sebagai fotografer, teman-teman, tetangga, dan ya sahabat juga pada di Bintaro Loops pada olahraga, sepedaan. Pindah-pindah spot di Bintaro Loops juga enak, gampang. Saya naik sepeda keliling aman nggak? Ya sekarang pemotor dan mobil udah lebih aware lah ya sama kita pesepeda. Jadi nggak terlalu marah-marah juga mereka untuk saat ini. Udah teredukasi lah, mereka bawa pengen olahraga pagi-pagi. Sebenarnya menurut gue olahraga juga kan event juga buat orang itu, buat mengolah dirinya sendiri, mengolah tubuhnya dia biar fit, biar sehat. Pasti juga pengen difoto dan bagus, didokumentasi dengan bagus. Sebenarnya foto kan dilihat kan keindahan ya. Mereka pasti suka sih melihat keindahan. Apalagi buat aktualisasi dirinya sendiri di sosial media. Sekarang sosial media juga jadi seperti etalase berjalan juga kan untuk brand-brand masuk, mengendorse mereka, mengencourage mereka beli brand something yang mereka jual kan. Ya kita suka lihat juga kan di luar negeri marathon picture, major marathon tuh pasti ada jualan foto juga kan. Mereka kasih watermark untuk memproteksi karya mereka agar tidak diambil lah. Jadi itu kenapa saya kasih watermark yang gede. Dulu pernah ngajak temen untuk bareng-bareng lah jualan foto kita. Tapi dulu awal-awal gak ada yang ikut sih. Gak ada yang ikut. Tapi semenjak kelihatan yang sepedaan banyak, yang marketnya juga ada, mereka beberapa pada ikut jualan juga. Ya gue seneng mereka terinspirasi melihat gue jualan foto dan bisa laku lah fotonya. Ya rezeki masing-masing, gue juga nggak akan ganggu mereka.
After shooting and editing the photos, I asked Mas Bayu to go riding somewhere. Good thing is, after some years of taking photos in Bintaro Loops, Bayu got to hire an assistant to help him with the photos. And it gave him more time to spend the rest of the day freely. So we're riding from his home in Bintaro and going somewhere towards South Jakarta. For photographers who spend most of their time in front of the screen, either shooting, sorting, or editing photos, to be able to take a stroll with a bike is quite refreshing. To take a break, refresh the eyes and mind. We go for an easy ride, not too fast, as long as we can enjoy the road. Unfortunately, just after we enter South Jakarta, the weather wasn't so kind to us. Rain starts to fall, so we decided to take some shortcut with public transportation. This is the MRT station in Lebak Bulus. It is the first and last stop of MRT route in Jakarta. It provides the passenger with a bike rail to help passenger with non-foldable bike to get upstairs to reach the ticket area and the platform. On the train, there's a designated car for cyclists. So the bike didn't take much space from other passengers. Well, even though we took the train outside the rush hour, so there's almost no passengers. But still, it is a good thing for public transport to support cyclists and provide proper space, so cyclists can take a shortcut to reach their destination. Unfortunately, not every station is provided with the bike rail. So we're going for Block M MRT station. The rush hour began around 4 p.m. And when we changed train, it's already started to get crowded inside the train. It's a bit funny since we're the only one on the car who brought bike to the train. But also a good thing, because if everyone bring their bike to the train, it's a bit hard to imagine how crowded it will be. The station also become even more crowded. Even with the bike rail, it's a bit hard to walk the bike going downstairs on the bike rail. You really have to be careful, otherwise it might cause accident to others. As we took off in Block M area, we are thinking about going to one of the bike shop around there. There is one bike shop, a quite famous one, called House of the Rising Sun. There's a bike wash service available there, so Mas Bayu decided to wash his bike and go into the shop. There's a lot of cool bike stuff in there, and luckily, we get to meet the owner of the shop. So we asked him to tell us some more about the shop, and why does it called House of the Rising Sun.
Sebenarnya ada maknanya sendiri. Pada waktu itu kan sebenarnya kayak sepeda tuh lagi turun banget kan ya, lagi turun banget. Terus tahun berapa tuh? 2000, pandemik tuh 2020 lah ya, pandemik tuh 2020. Nah, setelah itu kan booming banget tuh yang namanya sepeda. Sebenarnya gue sama partner-partner gue tuh udah emang main sepeda dari tahun 2011, cuma itu dari zamannya fixed gear lah. Kita udah, maksudnya emang udah hidup dari komunitas sebenarnya.
Fixed gear tuh berarti yang
single speed, iya yang malam-malam segala. Makanya kalau lo lihat di toko kan emang benar-benar masih banyak tuh sepeda-sepeda fixed gear, dan komunitasnya juga masih hidup lah. Nah, kenapa itu House of the Rising Sun, terus gitu kita pop up lagu dari band The Animals itu House of the Rising Sun, kita cocok. Jadi sebenarnya maknanya itu kita bikin di tempat sebenarnya kayak rumah semua, buat semua komunitas lah, ibaratnya kayak hub. Nah, Rising Sun kita menganggap tuh buat para pesepeda, para teman-teman cyclist, lu punya rumah di saat kayak matahari terbenam sebenarnya analoginya, matahari terbit. Jadi saat booming, itulah waktunya si rumah buat penerima komuniti tersebut tuh terbit lah. Seperti itu sih sebenarnya analogi yang kita ambil dari si House of the Rising Sun itu. Nah ini contoh sepeda-sepeda frame-frame yang ada di Hotters ya. Jadi gue nyebutnya Hotters aja lah kepanjangan kalau House of the Rising Sun. Ini ada si Battaglia World Champion, terus ini Landshark. Landshark ini sebenarnya handmade-nya si ada builder US. Sebenarnya kalau di US tuh sebenarnya kayak Pegoretti-nya Amerika. Sebenarnya Landshark ini handmade juga. Nah ini ada sepeda Cannondale Trek. Ini ada si Cannondale High Mod, si Super 6 Evo High Mod. Nah ini ada sepeda yang buat touringnya si New Albion. Ini sepeda yang menurut gue suka banget sih. Ini Cannondale yang keluarannya si Cipollini Edition, sangat jarang sekali. Ini kemarin sempat gue cobain juga dan enak banget gitu. Dan ini emang udah didesain waktu itu buat si Cipollini. Terus apalagi ya, di depan ada beberapa macam-macam sepeda sih. Macam-macam deh ini ya. Ini ada perintilan lah, perintilan penyunjang, terus ada pedal dan lain-lain lah. Lu lihat sendiri deh pokoknya. Gue sampai bingung juga sebutinnya. Ya pokoknya lengkap lah di sini. Lu mau dari sepeda road bike, mau gravel, mau track bike segala macam ya lu ada semua lah di sini. Kita nyebutnya sebenarnya kita toko sepeda, bukan toko road bike, bukan toko gravel ataupun bukan toko track bike. Itu sih. Jadi semua sepeda bisa masuk ke sini lah sesuai konsep kita di awal ini.
Nongkrong di tempat sepeda, nggak kerasa udah malam aja.
As the night fall, we still want to ride somewhere. A friend of us, who is also a photographer, joined us for the ride. His name is Roga, and he's a new cyclist photographer in town. To see Mas Bayu and Roga riding together, it's almost like looking at two cyclist photographers from two different eras. Mas Bayu was the first cyclist grapher, and Roga is the most recent. While riding, they share a lot to each other about cyclist photography. Mas Bayu also want to take some photos of the city in the night, on the bridge. For photographers, taking picture in the night is interesting. The city light in the night is a good element. It shows how busy the city is. We continue our ride and we found a skate park. As we stop there, we get to talk with a coffee merchant who sells and serves instant coffee in his bicycle. We asked him how long did he ride to go from his house to this area, and he said it took him more than an hour. We're amazed because his ride didn't stop here. To sell his coffee, he get to ride all night long. And then he go home just before dawn. Somehow, it makes us realize that us photographers and coffee merchant on bike wasn't so different. We both ride to go somewhere and make a living. Almost like bike to work. Mas Bayu told us there that as photographers, we should also look on cycling from a different angle. Not all cyclists are those who exercise, riding cool bike, going fast on the road. People who go riding and rely on their bike to work is also a cyclist. And by taking picture, we tell stories. It's not always about selling photos. Even though Mas Bayu was the first to sell photos of cyclists, he also knew that selling is not everything. And he hoped that he can inspire every cyclist photographer on the street, just like he inspired them to sell photos, and also to ride a bike as well, to try become the subject of their photos, to see much more of how enjoyable riding really is.